and we're looking for what type of insulation there is. You really want to pay attention to the gable ends, the end of the house. That's typically where you see the more moisture intrusion there and around the chimney. The insulation is rather important, and we go through that. We measure it. If I have to tell you, a lot of times to go into new construction, the attic is supposed to have 16 inches of insulation, and there's a little tape up there that says this 16 inches of insulation, and you pull out the tape and you realize the bottom 4 inches have been cut off. So you really have to measure it yourself. But the insulation is really important because that's where your major heat loss is on the second floor. It just goes through the attic. And more importantly, during the winter, it creates humidity in the attic. And if you don't have enough ventilation, you get a lot of moisture in the attic. It starts rotting out the sheathing, and you can tell if there is an issue by looking at the nails. And if they're rusted, that's a sign of too much humidity. Those are the main points. There's some other things to go through, but I wanted to see if anybody had any particular questions about attics. No? Okay. Um, as I said, the ventilation is rather important. Another thing I see a lot, you go up in the attic, they put new insulation in, fiberglass bats on top of whatever the old insulation is, and they block the soffit vents, which are at the floor in the corner of the attic. And now you don't have any air coming in. And the attic is supposed to be the same temperature as it is outside. So if it's 20 degrees outside, it's supposed to be 20 degrees in your attic, which will never be because you've got heat coming up. And same thing during the summer. If it's 100 degrees outside, your attic is going to be at least 100, probably closer to 120 because of the, you don't get that much ventilation. But you need airflow. That's the biggest thing in an attic. And there's nothing worse than going in an attic and see people have blocked the windows, they blocked all the ventilation because they think they're losing all the heat. But the air temperature in the attic, as I said, is supposed to be the same as it is on the outside. So ventilation is really important to keep to keep the humidity out of the attic, and good airflow is the biggest part of that. And next thing is the around the chimney itself. Is there any issue with the chimney? But as far as the attic goes, moisture intrusion where the attic meets up with the chimney, the flashing, that sort of thing. And the last thing is, as far as the ventilation goes, a lot of attics have vents on the side of the house called gable vents. And you want to make sure there's screening up there to keep the bees out, um, raccoons, squirrels. We've kind of seen them all in the attic, which is a lot of fun when you're up there and you hear something moving around. But the screening is really, really important for that. Uh,
Todd, what's the craziest thing you've ever found in an attic?
Raccoons, uh,
Okay.
a family of raccoons tucked in the corner. And when I went back outside and we're trying to figure out how the raccoons got in there, and there was a loose shingle, and that's all it was. And they got into the attic and they were living up there with the whole family. And so, yeah, we had to get an exterminator up there to trap them and to remove them. And that was a little scary until we found out exactly what was up there and how many. And Dad up there with a big raccoon. That was not fun to see his eyes. But that's the craziest thing. That, and I see skeletons all the time of squirrels and that sort of thing up there. So it's really important to keep it tight, weather tight, and lots of flow of air. That's the biggest thing in the attic.
Todd, how often, because I don't know that I've ever seen this on one of my inspections, how often do you see structural issues? In New England, where you've got snow load here, do you ever see that, like, you've actually got failure in, the trusses or any of the major support or anything like that? Or is it more mold, roof's no good, plywood's damaged, isn't enough insulation, insulation's moldy, there's critters? Like, to me, all of that stuff, I mean, it's all easily fixable. The trusses are, moving or cracked, or like, that seems like, man, this is an issue. So do you see that, or is it just, they don't let these things go up and due to the permitting and we're over,
No,
you know?
I don't see it very often. I've seen cracked rafters, which actually is not that big of a. You just sister the rafters. Some spreading, some hogging of the roof, where the roof is like the ridge pole dips down. But that's usually on an older house, and it's spreading a little bit. But the biggest damage is moisture intrusion, and the trees are too close to the house. I've seen that. The tree is literally ripped off the shingles and no one knew. You go in the attic and you see water damage and rotted sheathing. Um, it happens, but it's not that prevalent that I've seen. Um, Usually in an older house, an abandoned house, that sort of thing. But the biggest damage is, animals getting in, or they said a tree hit the house or ripped the shingles off or something like that, and then you got moisture coming in. But actually, a cracked rafter is actually one of the easiest things to fix. You just sister it, and usually they don't crack on their own, so something hit the roof. And then you have a bigger issue because how are the shingles? So now you got to get up there and really inspect the shingles and find out what's going on.
Anybody have any other questions about roofs, attics, inspection of them?
Or anything in general, inspection wise?
Have you guys figured out any sort of solution or seen any new technology regarding gutters, and keeping stuff out of the gutters? It seems like there's a million solutions, and it seems like they all have their downside. No matter how much money you spend, these gutters are going to get clogged. But just curious what
Well,
your thoughts are there.
it's a judgment. It's a personal judgment call. Personally, I don't like gutter guards um, for two reasons. One, you still have to clean the gutters, and once the gutter guards are installed, it's very difficult to clean the gutters because debris still gets in there a little bit. Um, the other thing is, in a heavy rainstorm, the water with most of the gutter guard systems, the water just flows over the gutter completely and then dumps down. The water never actually gets into the gutter because of the force. So the heaviest rain, the time you really want those gutters to grab everything they can, the water is just spilling over and it doesn't do anything. Um, there are the really expensive one, leaf. Can't remember the name of it. They're really expensive, and they can go $5,000 to $7,000 for an average house, and they're good. And but I still have the issue is heavy rain. The rain doesn't really get into the gutter all that much. Um,
Is
but
that
a
is
lot
that
of
the
people
one that
swear.
has like a, almost like a roof, a metal roof over the
Yeah,
top, and it only has like a little lip at the
exactly.
end? Yep. Yep.
Yeah, if you got a light rain, yeah, it works out great. It keeps the debris out and the water gets in. But once you have a little bit of velocity behind the water, it just
Yep.
flows right out. Um, and
So
I tell my clients
almost seems like your best bet is just have gutters installed and clean them regularly.
and clean
No
them.
guards. Yeah.
I mean, you hire somebody if you want twice a year. It takes you a long time to spend $5,000 for a gutter guard system. I also tell my clients, they're first time home buyers, the next time you get a major thunderstorm or a major rainstorm, go outside and walk around the house. See where the water's going. Excuse me, see where the water's overflowing. Excuse me. And because you're never going to see this on a nice sunny day when you see water inside the house or your garden is getting washed away and you can't quite figure it out. Before you have any issues, go outside, see where the water's going, stand in the pouring rain, and you will see if there's any issues. And it's not the issue you see today, it's the issue you start seeing 5 years from now because the kick-out flashing wasn't installed or something of that nature. The leader is a little loose, um, or there's a hole in the gutter and you don't see it on a bright sunny day, but wow, you see the water pouring through a seam. And you can only do that when it's raining. So I suggest that to the first-time home buyers so they understand. And I think they get a kick out of that. Oh, the inspector told me to go out and stand in the rain and look at my gutters.
Any other thoughts around home inspection for these guys, or we can change gears? Maybe somebody had something interesting happen on a transaction that you'd like to throw out on the table. I think I'm gonna start maybe one day a week, just random unmuting and forcing people to talk. I think that would be fun. We should spin a wheel. Maybe there's like a little app in Zoom.
One thing I could say is that I actually had some roof damage. And had the water coming in through the vent, the plumbing vent, and I haven't been back up there since. I'm wondering if they corrected the problem on the roof, but I wonder if we need to maybe look at something else up there. The problem seems to have gone away, but maybe there's some hidden damage I need to look at. Did you comment on that?
So
Well,
Paul,
that's hard to.
I want to make sure I understand exactly what you're saying, Paul, before these guys jump on it. So you had physical damage to the roof, or the issue started with water coming in through a vent?
Yeah, the issue started with water coming in through the vent, and we noticed water up there. I took a bucket up there and grabbed some. Then I had kind of had a roof inspector come over, and he said possibly the part of the roof may need to be replaced, but I figured if everything dried out okay, it should be fine. I'm just wondering if that needs to be revisited after the insurance company kind of fix the initial problem up there.
So what did they end up doing? Sealing around the vent? Was it improperly sealed, and you believe that's fixed the problem?
Well, I believe that when they, at one point, somebody was doing some work on the roof or whatever, and the clamp up there, the flashing that goes over it was loose. They came back and tightened that and corrected the issue. Haven't had any more water up there, but was just wondering if there may be any residual issues because of that initial damage, the initial leak that was up there.
So there could be a couple of issues, assuming what typically goes wrong with the plumbing vent through the roof is the rubber boot that goes around the vent, and the boots disintegrate over time. They do make a cover for that, a retrofit, so you don't have to rip it out and redo everything. But it depends on, if the plumbing vents, all the flashing around it failed, or is it the actual plumbing vent that broke, or it's cracked, or ice got in it, or something like that. Yeah, then you would have to rip up the shingles and replace the whole plumbing vent. It's difficult to say what the issue is without knowing. What I would do in your case is ask the contractor to show you pictures and to really explain what the issue is. There's no clamps on a plumbing vent, And so I'm not sure what that is, but I always suggest to clients have the contractors take pictures. It's so easy now, it's so simple. And then you can actually see what the issue is.
Thank you.
I'll share some positive news. I saw an article yesterday talking about consumer sentiment. That we've got a little bit of a rebound as far as what the consumers are feeling. So hopefully this will turn into a little bit more business for you guys. I figured I'd share a little bit of it. So a couple of different stats of where they measure this stuff. In May, 26% of Americans said it was a good time to buy a home, which is up 23% from April, and a low of 14% just a year ago. So that's a pretty significant increase over, what is it, 12% from a year ago. And this is a Fannie Mae survey, it looks like. Meanwhile, 61% said May was a good time to sell, up from 58% in April. That number is a little bit lower than the same time last year, which was 64%. Fannie Mae puts together what they call the Home Purchase Sentiment Index, HPSI. This rose to 73.5 in May, a 4.3 increase over April, and its highest level since January's 73.4. So good news there. And this is up from 56.7 in October of 22. So that's almost a 20-point increase since 22. Consumers have grown more confident that home prices will increase, 45% rather than stay flat. 34% thought it would stay flat. And net expectations, 24% believe that prices will continue to rise. Expectations for mortgage rates have improved. 38% expect rates to stay the same, and 29% think they'll decline over the next 12 months. So obviously those are numbers that make buyers want to buy. Concern, this one's interesting to me, as I would be extremely concerned about the following. But concern about job loss eased. 22% worried about losing employment, down from 25% in April and 32% in March. 76% of consumers felt secure in their job. Income trends were relatively flat. 70% reported little change over the past year. 10% said income had dropped significantly, and only 9% noted higher income. This is household income. So despite improvements, 64% of Americans still believe the economy is on the wrong track, although that sentiment is slightly less negative than April, where we were at 67%. In June of last year, we were as high as 74%. So all indicators seem like everybody feels like we're going in a better direction, which is good news for us. So I don't know how you guys are feeling or what you've been reading, but this was an Inman article that those are, pretty significant movers in these kind of national surveys. So any thoughts? As you guys are talking to people and talking about AI, do you think this is the type of thing? Is this like people are not educated and this is going to be taxi cabs not believing that the Uber drivers are coming for them? Or do you think people are aware of the capabilities of AI and what this could do to your typical jobs? I'm just curious what you guys, we talk about it a lot here, so I feel like this group is pretty educated, but what do you guys think as you're talking to friends and family, what they are thinking about AI?
I see a little bit of fear in my family, as far as my daughter's concerned. She's kind of on that side that thinks everybody's watching everything that you do. So she's and then kind of in that camp. But as I'm exploring some of the apps and everything that we have, I never realized that why LoPo and things like that are so powerful because of AI. So I'm certainly favoring it in a business sense.
Yeah, Rosa, I saw you unmute.
Yeah, well, I think it really depends on who you talk to. Some people feel very optimistic and think that their jobs are safe. Some people really worry about it. Um, and I think in one of those calls, as you said, no one knows, right? But I think there are some jobs that are definitely repetitive and will be replaced. Some of those that require relationship building or more complex tasks, they're still going to be just augmented by AI. There is still, though, a lot of changes coming. I'm a little bit surprised that you said that people feel more confident about their jobs, because I know there are still a lot of people that are out of job, and there is a lot of layoff that's going on in large companies specifically. So that's interesting fact.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I would add, I think the average person that's not on this call probably doesn't understand the power of AI. Just talking to friends and family outside the real estate business, I don't think they grasp uh, how big and bad this is. Maybe good too, but I would still say people don't understand the power of how quickly this is going to change the world.
Yeah, that's kind of my sentiment. I mean, to sit here and see that concern about job loss eased when we are going into potentially the biggest, quickest job loss in the history of the planet. It just tells me that these are uninformed people. So, Jeff.
Hey, good morning, all. I kind of take the approach of like, look at the dinosaurs, adapt or die. Big Brother's with all the technology that we've got, Big Brother's always listening. Your iPhone, when it sits idle, waits for you to say, "Hey Siri," or Alexa, or whatever it may be. So all those things are down there. While this I think the AI revolution is can be very helpful. It's how you want to put that to good use, or how you want to use it. Period. I think we find it for me and Linda, it's very helpful in a lot of stuff that we do, putting together articles, rewriting stuff, just trying to find a better tone to, and that's just using it for like emails or messages. But there's so many other applications that we utilize it for, and I think will it take away some jobs? It might, but it's also going to create, somebody's going to have to go out there and figure out what's the next job out there. So it's going to create a whole level of new jobs out there for people too. And again, to me, it's that adapt or die. You can either go with it or you can fight it. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, please don't fight it, because it's coming no matter what. And at least for our industry, the agent of the future that's going to have success is the one that embraces this stuff. So we are currently looking at some different AI assistant models. So we use a lot of AI in our team's business right now to do lead follow up and kind of lead tracking and measuring. And kind of the next level of that is, how do you get assistance for the agents that is ChatGPT like, but really integrated into your CRM that can remind you, hey, you had this conversation with this client. Did you do it? Do you need me to set a task for you? Like, where you're waking up and your assistant is saying, hey, here's the task for today, right? You've got to do these things for these clients. You said you were going to do this, like that project is due. That's the way I see most industries kind of evolving with this stuff, is you will have an AI assistant that is right by your side, helping you to do your job more efficient. And if you're not embracing this stuff, I just don't see how you're going to keep up with the person that is, because the person that is, you're going to feel like, how the hell are they doing all that? And they may actually be working less. It's just more focused. So I'm excited, for sure, because I will be on the path of let's embrace and put this stuff to great use. but I am fearful that this is going to blindside a lot of people, and I don't know how those people recover. And if those people don't recover, it affects all of us. So I hope that we can figure out a way where we can make this great for the whole world. So, all right, let's end on that note. John and Todd, thanks so much for what you guys do every here Wednesday on the show. We really, really appreciate you. I hope you guys have an awesome Wednesday. I apologize for the delay this morning. Let's go and have a great middle of the week day. We got some beautiful sunny Florida weather up here in New England today, so we're going to go enjoy that, and we'll be back here to do this again tomorrow morning. Take care, everybody.
Thank you all.